Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're joined by the community manager for an up-and-coming VR title, Bootstrap Island. I've written a little Q&A for the devs of the game, and they've graciously agreed to answer some questions. Starting off, could you please introduce yourself and the game to us for the people who might not have heard about it before?
So I'm Kincaid, or K, as some people call me. I'm the community manager for Bootstrap Island, and Bootstrap Island specifically is a VR survival roguelike. You take on the role of like a 17th century shipwreck survivor, and you're on this desolate, dangerous island where resources are scarce and the knights have ferocious beasts, and you have to adapt and improvise quickly with the resources you find around, like coconuts or wood, and try and survive that way.
Nice. Yeah, it's a very fun game. I've really enjoyed it so far. So, first question here. Bootstrap Island is a very unique concept, especially for VR. Getting dropped off on a survival island. Most people tend to towards like shooter games or
Right.
escape the room, whatever. What inspired this game?
So the devs wanted to make a game that fits uniquely to VR. Like, it's fun to interact and play around with objects and systems in VR, but they felt like most systems and most games rather, the story and gameplay are too separated. So in Bootstrap Island, they wanted to tie the atmosphere, physics, light, and dark, well, basically every element of the game together to make one great narrative adventure. That's something kind of out of the norm from what's general around the VR community nowadays, especially with like physics-based VR sandboxes are kind of ruling the market. They want to do something a little unique.
All right. Next question here. Have they developers worked on any previous games, or is this their first title, or maybe a bit of backstory on that?
This is their first VR game for large audiences, but they've created around like 40 different VR experiences previously, like location-based experiences, training simulators, or art projects, like anything like that, but not necessarily like a full-on, fully fledged game.
All right. Yeah, it's quite the one to kick off their career with.
It is. It is. They really wanted to get in there with
Yeah.
a strong foot in the door.
hmm Definitely. Yeah. Be amazing to see how this game takes shape too in the future as development
Yeah.
continues. So what got them interested in game development?
Well, from what I've talked to them about, they're very passionate about what they do, and they're very fascinated with games. And they always, I mean, they're playing. I see it in the our little chat that we share together. They're always sharing different types of games and genres and titles that they've ever. All of them have different played loads of different games, thousands at least. I think across all of them, definitely thousands. But they never ever dreamed of making their own game. But after they had the opportunity to direct some VR projects, and they eventually kind of got together and met each other and met some seriously talented people, they just seemed like it was the next logical step, and there they are.
Yeah, it's one thing to have passion for your project and stuff. Like I know a lot of people just go into something like, all right, this is something that'll make a lot of money or this will make me famous, so I'm going to do this cuz this is the right thing
Right.
to do. So, it's
Right.
nice to see people come in with passion for something.
Oh yeah, a lot of VR games you see are very dictated towards kind of the money grabbing part, but not so much like the actual essence of video games, the really core elements of what makes a game, the narrative.
All right. With a lot of recent indie games, developers have focused mostly on desktop gameplay, especially with the PS1 retro style graphics. What inspired
Right.
the developers to focus instead on more VR ultra realism style graphics?
So they VR is such a unique medium. You know, they've always been a believer ever since they tested out the first Oculus DK1 with regular screen games. It seems like every possible combination of genres and styles has been done thousands of times over. But with VR, there's just so much more room to explore and actually try to do something new, where like creating worlds which people can experience as if they're actually real is irresistible to them. I mean, think about it. Like, you'd have to put your life on the line to kind of do that. The 17th century, you
Yeah.
can only get so close to the 17th century like shipwreck survivor, and then you obviously are going to have to worry about actually surviving. And if you don't have that experience or anything like that, you're dead.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get that kind of experience through like a flat screen game as much as if you're in completely immersed with amazing graphics and amazing physics and an amazing engine to make everything run seamlessly to make you feel like you're actually there. You're just not going to get that from a flat screen type game.
Yeah, VR is a lot more immersive. There's been a couple of games that I played, like Half-Life Alyx for big
Right.
one. Like
Very much.
it just doesn't VR just doesn't translate to a flat screen at all. All right. What other media helped influence the game? For instance, the book Robinson Crusoe, the movie Peter Pan, or perhaps Gilligan's Island.
So originally, the idea for the game for them was somewhat different, with some light survival elements. They started to reread actually Robinson Crusoe as an inspiration and realized that the book works really well for the game. So you have time pressure, resource management, places to explore, allies and enemies, and of course, reading real survival stories is a terrific inspiration. Survival is just something that is engraved deep in our brain and touches everybody. But overall, I think the adventure books that they read as a kid, and I assume most people read as a kid, are just reading for fun and letting your mind wander. That's the feeling they wish to emulate with Bootstrap Island. They really want people to kind of let their childhood and inspiration and influence kind of go through the game.
Next question here. How is the work dynamic for the team? Does each person have a specific area they specialize in? Like someone creates the AI for the enemies, someone works on texturing the models, or does everybody kind of work on like everything together?
Well, the team is really, really small, so everybody kind of has a part to play. But the project has grown quite complex, and some specialization has definitely been needed. But they talk through things in meetings, and people are always helping each other out. Even though most people work remotely, like such as me, it's important to still know what the others are doing and have a feeling of working together.
Yeah. Yeah. The nice thing, though, especially with game development, with working remotely, is that you don't necessarily have to be in the same location. I mean, remote work, I'm sure, complicates things a bit, but it's a lot easier to transfer data online as opposed to like a physical project.
Oh yeah, 20 years ago, not even this wouldn't even be close to being possible. But as we've kind of gone through the years, everything is becoming way easier accessible. I mean, just even Google alone is just an absolutely mind-blowing thing to have, to just access almost all of human knowledge right at your fingertips.
All right. Will there be any pets in the game? Like, will you be able to tame a dog and have it hunt for you, or?
So the devs have a lot of plans and a lot of things they want to add to the game, but like I said before, there's such a small team, so they have to really choose their battles carefully on what they want to work on first and what to prioritize. And they try really hard not to overpromise, because a lot of devs do that and it ends up just not working in their favor. The community kind of turns their back on them, which is very disappointing, but they would rather prefer to underpromise and overdeliver.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, think about like No Man's Sky, the launch of that. I
Hmm.
think eventually they turned it around, but yeah,
They really
overpromise.
did. They really did, and the community did come back. But that's just one outlier example. I mean, I hope that most games are like that, but I know that statistically it's not always.
Next question too. I know many people have mentioned in the Discord server a request for multiplayer. Is there any solid plan for that at the moment, or nothing in the works at the moment, or?
Nothing currently. They're not something they really want to fully flesh out the game, and then maybe that'll be something we can reconsider in the future. But as of right now, there's no plans for now or in the future of having any sort of multiplayer compatibility.
Fair enough. Y'all seem very open to feedback in the Discord server. How do you guys manage player responses and requests with the vision that you have for the game?
Well, yeah, we really didn't know what to expect when launching the game, and the positivity has been really overwhelming. Really, I mean, even people that give negative reviews on Steam say that they like the game, but it's just too early for them to really put a lot of time and effort and focus onto the game yet. And but they say they'll generally probably be back, and we have a creative vision, and they want to stick to it, but there has been a lot of good feedback which fits the vision of the game really well, and we're honestly really lucky to have such a positive community with such good feedback that helps us create the best game that we can. And although the devs and they have a vision for what the game they want to be, we also want to have some influence from the community. And we build this for us, but we're also building it for you guys.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because I know there's probably going to be some requests that are like maybe not as going to fit in well with the era and the genre of gameplay as
Right.
others, but
There's not going to be any Jedi lightsabers on the 17th century abandoned island.
yeah, that could be a little out of place. Is there any hints that you guys wish to share as to the future direction of Bootstrap Island or upcoming features you wish to share?
As of right now, we're about to launch a major patch with 2 really big new features. We've kind of leaked a little bit about that, but we have a lot of cool things already planned and in the works, and we're very excited to show you guys more. But just wait a little bit longer, and maybe we'll tease a little bit of stuff here and there.
We'll definitely keep tuned in the Discord and the Reddit and all the
Yeah.
other informational routes.
And Discord's probably the best place to reach us because that's where we're most connected with the community. Discord does a really good job at kind of making that bridge between the community and the developers, and that's genuinely where I operate almost exclusively inside the Discord. I'll maybe go on Steam every now and again, but it's hard to manage Discord, Steam, Reddit, Twitter, like Instagram. Like it's just too much. But Discord is everything. You can just compile and condense it down, and you have almost practically a one-on-one with the support team, which is me and Rain and sometimes Marco. You have a pretty easy access to the dev team.
All right. Do you guys have any tips for people who might be interested in getting into game dev as a hobby? I know a lot of people are starting to aspire towards that, and with tools like Unreal Engine and Unity, I know a lot of people are starting to think about it.
Right. And there's a lot of good talks and tutorials out there to start trying things out and see what suits you guys best. But I'd say that doing hard work always takes longer than you expect. So if you find something that you're really passionate about, and it just makes everything so much more rewarding. I know I can say from experience, I'm not a game dev, but I am an electrical engineer, and that kind of line of work, you have to be passionate about it. You have to really, really want it. You can't just kind of want it, because you're going to hate what you're learning, and you're going to waste your time, and you're not going to want to, you got to want to get up in the morning and say, all right, I can't wait to go in and start working on this. I can't wait to start learning more. I really am curious as to what I can figure out today, what problems I want to solve. And one thing I've learned kind of during my college career is, if you're passionate about something, if you're really truly passionate about something, then you're going to get it. Some people will say, oh, electrical engineering is too hard, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it, or game deving is too hard, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. But if you're truly passionate about it, it might take longer than some other people that have a knack for it, but you will get it, and you're going to be a master in your field. It just depends on how long it's going to take and how much you're going to fight for it. You just have to be really passionate about it, and because that just makes everything better.
You had mentioned earlier that a lot of the devs work remotely, and they had mentioned in the Discord that they were in a bunch of different time zones. Yeah, how is it working with like a very English-speaking community as opposed to devs who may not speak English as a first language, or like maybe in different time zones, so they may not be active when a lot of other people are being active, stuff like that?
Right. So that's kind of where I come in. I'm based out of Texas, so I'm right in the middle of the central part of America. So I'm able to, obviously, for English is my first language. It's my only language. I can't speak anything else. But the devs do speak pretty good English. There is a little bit of a language barrier every now and again, and the time zones can be annoying. But generally, we do pretty good. If we do have some sort of language barrier or time zone difficulty, it only takes about a few hours to sort it out. And the great thing about the devs is that they're very responsive, especially with me. That makes my job so much easier. Because I'm a freelance community manager. This isn't the first project I've worked on. I worked on Hellsplit Arena. I still work with Hellsplit Arena. I've worked with Into the Radius. I worked with I didn't work with contractors, but I've talked to the devs with there. I've worked on all sorts of different games, and these are probably one of the most responsive in terms of developers.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes it so much easier. And like you said, with the based speaking community, that's kind of where I come in. I'm able to bridge that gap that may be there between the devs and the community, because I'm able to I understand where the devs' heads are at, and I understand what the project's looking like, and I understand. I mean, this isn't obviously, like I said, this isn't my first indie game company that I've worked with. I mean, I've been doing this for, I guess, 6 or 7 years now. Came out of high school doing this, so I've definitely have experience in kind of working with all over international clientele.
Yeah, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate
Yeah.
the devs and you answering all the questions here. I'm very
Hmm.
excited to see where the game goes in the future. It's got a lot of
Yeah, we are
promise
too.
to it.
Yeah, we are too. Cool.